Monica, do I have to eliminate you now so you can get to the Garden for Knicks Sixers Game 2 as quick as do I have to? No, I won't do that. Joel Embiid will be there, though, and he's coming back from coming back. Is there any way he could summon what's needed for tonight's Game 2? Lakers need something to break their way versus Denver. What would that take tonight? Also from the weekend, we have a skin of the puck goal. A fan interference robbing a walk-off homer. And when I didn't say anything, really meant I didn't say anything. Let's go around the horn.
That's what I say every time, Tony, when you miss
the camera don't lie, though. The camera and Mike caught everything from that Yankees A's thing this afternoon. Can't wait to talk about that. But we start with the NBA playoffs, where the home teams won every game this weekend, 6 by double digits. We'll get to that in a second. Tonight, Game 2, the Sixers need more from Joel Embiid. Is that even possible? Is that even a reasonable ask? He's limping, he's gasping, he's bleeding from the knee, he's blinking from only one eye. Tonight, Embiid listed as questionable. So is Tyrese Maxey, who is now ill. He came down with a sickness, so he's questionable. Combine that with the Knicks riding high on the Bing Bong. Got a superstar game from Deuce McBride. Wow. Professor Tinsley here with his 2-1-1 theory. We'll get to him in a second, but we start with you, Monica. This is your beat. Can the Sixers and can Embiid make it through this series and make it a series, and how much of that comes down to tonight?
All right, I'm not going to disrespect the Sixers. They've obviously been terrific when Joel Embiid has been at health. With the loss, they're now 32-9 when he's available. And when he was on the floor, they did outscore the Knicks by 15 points.
Exactly.
Also, coincidence that it was the third quarter in which the Knicks historically hit a lull over the course of the season. The problem, though, is what does that knee allow him to do? Because the Knicks, while Jalen Brunson is certainly the guy whose name is in lights, and then you wonder who's going to be your second leading scorer, they are okay with that. They're fine leaning into a plethora of guys that can step in and play different roles. People will point to the 26 points off of offensive rebounds, but they had 27 points in the fast break. That's courtesy of Josh Hart and Deuce McBride picking up the tempo and making the Sixers have to chase them.
So, plethorically speaking, you like the position the Knicks are in. Justin Tinsley, I turn to you. The 2-1-1 theory, I believe you got that final one from Deuce McBride in Game 1. Is that not right, Doctor?
It could be Deuce McBride. It could be Josh Hart. It could be Mitchell Robinson for his defense on Joel Embiid. Either way, you got that last one. What I like from the Knicks in Game 1, they had 23 offensive rebounds, which led to 26 second chance points. What I didn't like, however, they got outscored 42-7 in bench points. You're not going to win many playoff games with a negative 35-point differential. And going into the night, Maxey is sick. Embiid is hobbled. He's basically T1000 at this point. So we're going to learn a lot about this Knicks team. Do they let their foot off the gas with the Sixers team that is hobbled, or do they go for the haymaker? I think it's more of the latter. I think we get the first of the two with the Jalen Brunson game tonight.
Courtney Cronin, to you, what to expect tonight, Game 2, Knicks Sixers.
I don't know how much the day off will have given Joel Embiid enough time to get back to where he's confident in that knee, because he risked it all there with the backboard alley-oop toss to himself and then goes down, and this look of shock on his face, like, man, something is wrong here.
That maneuver in that moment, Courtney?
Injured meniscus that I
go with the Showtime style move. Do you question that from a player who has to know he's not 100%? George does. Courtney, you brought it up.
I think you have to. I think you got to know your limits, and I think that you have to know when you are putting your body in harm's way. This is not the first time that he's had an injury, re-injuring this knee since he came back in April. It happened April 12th. He had to sit out the finale. All of those things come into play here to where he's really got to be smart on this. And if you don't have Tyrese Maxey available tonight because he's questionable with that illness, you're going to need more than, 7 points from your bench to get through this team.
Mm-hmm. George, you also questioned Embiid putting it all out there in the manner he did. At some point, do the Sixers have to be like, we can't keep on playing and then not playing and then playing and then not playing, but they have no other option. Isn't that right?
Tony, this is why I don't dunk, obviously, but it was unnecessary in that scenario as well. Like, you started the show. What are we doing here? What are we talking about here? What are you doing? Like, why are you trying to put this showboat highlight in a game when you're on one leg to begin with? It just didn't make sense to me. Now, I will say this. I do think Nick Nurse, and I picked the Knicks to win this series, but I do think Nick Nurse is one of the best defensive coaches in the sport, and I think that Jalen Brunson will continue to see some tough defense. Now, it doesn't mean that Jalen Brunson, to me, who is, a borderline MVP candidate, won't find ways to figure this out, but I do think Kelly Oubre, who's long, right, shows a look at him that he's not necessarily used to all the time. Then they'll switch it up with Maxey, who's got speed, right? And then Kyle Lowry, who's got that veteran savvy. So Brunson is going to have to figure this thing out for the Knicks to win tonight, but it is a key game for the Sixers tonight.
Yes, it is. I'm glad you have diagnosed that, but you didn't give us a pick there. Dr. Sedano, who you got tonight?
I got Philly.
Why'd you take a big deep breath like that? Courtney Cronin?
Had to think about it.
I've got the Knicks.
Justin Tinsley?
The Knicks.
Monica, last word.
I gotta go Knicks. And to answer the question on the dunk, it was because Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein have been giving Joel Embiid the blues, and he needed an energy play.
Yeah, I don't have as big a problem with it as Courtney and George do. You know, I mean, you're going to ask the player to play. He's going to play it the way he's going to play. There's no holding back. It's the playoffs. We'll move on. Insanity, though, is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. That applies to Embiid with his injury. It also applies to the Lakers. Game 2 tonight against Denver. They have not been able to get over a hump and get a W. You're looking at these highlights here. LeBron, Davis look gassed while Jokic is beating him up and down the floor, George. Talk to me about a path to victory for LA. Is it possible even against these Nuggets?
I mean, it's possible, but I still don't think it's likely, Tony. As we talked about when I was in the show last week, the Denver Nuggets, their starting five and their closing five is the best five-man group in the sport. They will out-execute you, and the difference is the Lakers normally bully people with LeBron and AD. Meanwhile, the Denver Nuggets can bully the Lakers, one of the few teams that can do that. So their only path is for the role players, particularly D'Angelo Russell, who struggled last year in this series and struggled in Game 1, to have a good game.
Courtney Cronin?
There's no path if D'Angelo Russell can't hit some shots. I mean, Game 1 was not an anomaly. In his last 5 playoff games, he's 3 of 24 from 3. You cannot have that happen. And you can't have LeBron take this passive approach in the second half after he was so dominant in the first half. He wasn't attacking the rim. He attempted 6 shots. And there were moments where both he and Anthony Davis looked winded. I get it due to the altitude. But if nobody else is showing up to help them in those final minutes, that's going to happen.
Justin Tinsley?
Yeah, from wire to wire, start to finish, this has to be a true team game for the Lakers. They can't just lean on LeBron and Anthony Davis for 40 minutes. So, again, a team effort. But as Courtney, as George said, I'm looking at D'Angelo Russell. Over his last 5 postseason games, all against the Nuggets, mind you, he's averaging 7.6 points, shooting 31% from the field and 13% from 3. If you are him, if you are that guy, you need to make tonight a statement, because if not, this series is over by the weekend.
Monica.
Tony, give all my points to my colleagues because everybody nailed it. And just to add to Justin's point, 1 for 9 from 3, if you're D'Angelo Russell, that won't get it done. And then Austin Reeves has to continue to be a little bit more consistent. The thing is, though, the Lakers could play perfect basketball. The Nuggets have the ability to respond.
Well, that's what it is, right? They play perfect defense, it seems like, for 23.5 seconds. And in the last 5 tenths of a second in the shot, it
implodes.
Jokic will throw up something off of the back of his head and it goes in. Or vice versa. They miss 2 shots, Bunny's at the then Davis's head is down, LeBron's head's down, Jokic is going. That was a 3-point answer, by the way, Monica. So a point for Tins, a point for Cronin, a point for Zdano. I'm sensing you all have Denver tonight, so we'll move on and review the weekend. Game 1's home team won every game, I said. It wasn't every favorite, of course. I'm flagging 3 games for you. Indy was a favorite. Everybody's pick over Milwaukee without Giannis. And then Damian Lillard had that first half with 35. They didn't score in the second half, but the Bucks get the W. That result versus T-Wolves and Ant Edwards in the face of Durant and the Suns in that Game 1 win versus the no-show the Dallas Mavericks had versus the LA Clippers, who win without Kawhi. Courtney Cronin, most significant result of the weekend.
It's got to be the Timberwolves, their second largest win in playoff franchise history, and it's all because of Anthony Edwards. Will you take a look at what he did in the third quarter? He had more buckets than the entire Suns team did in that entire frame. He was fun to watch, the trash talking with him and Kevin Durant going back and forth. They've met their match in this Timberwolves team, number 1 defense in the NBA for a reason. I think it's going to be really difficult for them to try to right their wrongs in this matchup.
George, most significant result from the weekend?
Tony, I'm going to go with the Clippers. For 4 years, we've seen the Clippers, and for years we've said, oh, they're the team to beat, they're the team to beat. And as the years have gone by, less and less people have thought that. They're as deep as they've ever been, and they're facing a Dallas team that doesn't have a big man that can hurt them. They're at their worst when there's a talented, skilled big man that they're